Unit 5, Lesson 1, Ratios. Section 1, Ratio. A blank relationship of blank quantities expressed with the blank units, that would be a multiplicative, which means a relationship of multiplying, multiplicative relationship of two quantities expressed with the same units or attributes. That is a ratio. So a ratio is a relationship of two different quantities, two quantities with the same attributes. Let's see what that means exactly. A necklace has a pattern of 3 star beads and 1 moon bead. This is a ratio. In words, we would say that this is a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 star to 1 moon. There are different ways that we can write a ratio. We can write it as 3-to-1. We can write it with a colon, but it's still stated 3-to-1. And we can write it as a fraction, 3-to-1. So we would have 3 star beads for every 1 moon bead if we are making a bracelet or necklace with this pattern. Order and comparison. We know the terms or numbers represent specific beads because of the order they are listed. The item listed first corresponds to the term listed first. So with our ratio, we had star to moon beads. The star was listed first, the moons were listed second. Our ratios can compare a part to part, a part to whole, and a whole to part. So with the traditional fraction, we have a part to whole. But when we write a ratio in fraction form, it is not an actual fraction, it just looks like the form of a fraction. But they can represent part to whole, and whole to part. In the case of the star and moon beads, we have a part to part because the whole bracelet or whole piece of jewelry would be all of the beads together. Equivalent ratios and proportions. Equivalent ratios are ratios that name the same relationship by multiplying or dividing both terms of the ratio by the same number. That's a really complicated way of saying you can simplify by the same amount. But we can also make the numbers bigger if we want by multiplying instead of dividing. This is called a proportion. So when you simplify a fraction, you are actually changing it proportionally. So you've worked with proportions before, you just saw it as simplifying a fraction. A proportion is a statement that two fractions or ratios are equivalent. That's the same thing as equivalent ratios. So if we have 2-to-7, we could multiply the 2 by 2 and get 4. And what we do to the top, we do to the bottom, multiply by 2, and we get 14. So proportionally increased, that 2-to-7 ratio could be 4-to-14. Likewise, if we have 8-to-24, we can proportionally change this by dividing by 4, and that 8 becomes a 2. And if we divide by 4 on top, we divide by 4 on bottom, and we get 6. So even though 2-to-6 is not in the simplest form, that is still proportional to 8/24. On the back, it says write the ratios below in 3 different formats. We have that the party mix makes 8 cups. We have 4 cups of pretzels, 2 cups of bagel chips, 1 cup of cheese crackers, and 1 cup of peanuts. We can view this parts of the unit as 2 format, colon format, and fractional format. So our bagel chips to peanuts is a 2-to-1 because it's 2 cups of bagel chips to 1 cup of peanuts, so that is a 2-to-1 ratio. In colon form, it would be 2-to-1, and as a fraction, we would have a 2-to-1 ratio. I would not simplify that to the whole number 2, because we still need to represent those peanuts. Total party mix to pretzels. Oh, I'm sorry. The bagel chips to peanuts is a part to part. Total party mix to pretzels. Total party mix is 8 cups. Pretzels is 4 cups. So that ratio is an 8-to-4. Now I'm not going to simplify this at this time because I want to see the full amount according to what was given. In colon form, it is an 8-to-4 ratio, and as a fraction, it looks like 8-to-4, 8/4. And this is a whole to part. Cheese crackers to peanuts. Cheese crackers, we have 1 cup, and peanuts, is also 1 cup. There we go, a 1-to-1 ratio. We have 1 cup of cheese crackers to 1 cup of peanuts. In colon form, it is 1-to-1, and as a fraction, it is 1-to-1. I would not change that to a whole number 1 because we are representing 1 cup of cheese crackers and 1 cup of peanuts. This is a part to part. If I placed my table in a ratio format, I would have cranberry juice to apple juice. This is a punch recipe. In ounces, the cranberry juice is 3 parts cranberry juice, or 3 ounces of cranberry juice, and 2 ounces of apple juice. The original recipe is for 1 person. But what if I want to increase this? If I want to increase my recipe, I could use a table to do that. So first, I could increase it for 2 people. So that means I need to take the original recipe of 3 ounces and multiply by 2. That gives me 6, and the original 2 ounces for apple juice multiply by 2, and I get 4 ounces. So each time I increase my recipe, I need to multiply the original recipe by whatever I want to increase it by. If I'm going to give this to 3 people, I would increase both ounces by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 2 is 6. If I want to create this for 4 people, again, I multiply, and I get 12 to 8, so 12 ounces of cranberry juice, 8 ounces of apple juice. And again, for 5 people, I'm going back to the original recipe, so 5 times 3 is 15, and 5 times 2 is 10. So if I was making this for a small group of people, then I would have 15 ounces of cranberry juice and 2 ounces of apple juice.